Coronavirus became etched into popular culture after the SARS-CoV-2 virus spread across the globe in 2020, but people have been aware of coronaviruses for decades. Was coronavirus well known before the COVID-19 pandemic? One way to estimate a word's popularity is to ask Google. More specifically, you can use Ngram Viewer, a tool that displays a graph of how frequently phrases appeared in printed material between 1800 and 2019. The tool searches the corpus, or body of literature Google has scanned and archived, which includes 8 million books. The graphs below show results for coronavirus S and two associated terms. For comparison, I also searched for COVID, a disease that didn't exist prior to 2019, and SARS, the acronym for Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, which can refer to both the disease and virus that causes it, now called SARS-CoV-1. There are two important dates to highlight on the timeline. The words coronavirus and coronaviruses started becoming much more prevalent in Google's database in 2002, which corresponds with a sudden rise in the appearance of SARS. Just as expected, COVID doesn't appear at all. SARS reached a peak in 2003, coinciding with the 2002 to 2004 outbreak. Following a steady drop, there was a slight increase in interest around 2013, which I would guess is related to marking the outbreak's 10th anniversary. If you include SARS in a search, coronavirus and coronaviruses are barely a blip. But as the graph that excludes SARS shows, the words in the database closely match the history of coronavirus discovery. In 1960, David Tyrrell isolated an unknown germ that causes the common cold, a strain named B814, which he described in the British Medical Journal in 1965. Tyrrell sent a sample to June Almeida, who in 1967 identified virus particles under a microscope, discovering the first coronavirus to infect humans. Tyrrell, Almeida and 6 other virologists wrote to Nature in 1968 about the viruses with a fringe of projections, now known as a crown of spike proteins, that resemble the sun's corona, and suggested they be called coronaviruses. Google Ngram has a few flaws and researchers should be careful of reliability. So long as you don't overinterpret the results, however, the tool provides a rough measure of cultural change through the frequency of word use. Based on the charts, my unsurprising conclusion is the world had lost interest in coronavirus by 2019, and it took a global pandemic for people to take note again.